Just let me pop over to Facebook and make sure,
Okay.
and YouTube and make sure we're on because I don't. Oh, I do have it. I'm not even thinking straight. Oh wait, no, it's not showing it. Okay. Okay, whatever. All right,
Do
let's
I
see
sound
here.
okay? Because my speakers on my end are kind of funky, but I
No, no,
think
you sound fine. Yeah.
okay,
Okay.
good. It's my
I see
computer
us.
then.
So we are on. We are on.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, that's going to take a while. There's only one
Oh,
person in the house. That's probably me.
I'll just I'll just wait.
Yeah, we've been getting like totally suppressed. Like, you'll see that number. I don't know if you can see the
Oh,
number
really?
on the screen. Yeah, it'll be like, yeah, it used to be like in the first 3 or 4 minutes, you'd have like 60 people, 80 people.
So
And
something
now
to
it's like
the algorithm.
20. And then you'll get about 10 minutes into the show and then it'll just start coming. The
Okay, here I'll say.
notifications will come like 30 minutes into the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, but yeah, we just have to work with the energy. That's all we
Hey,
can do.
Shauna.
Let's give it another minute so we can have some people in here so we can hear your story about our multi-dimensionality. Oh my gosh,
Hey. Hi, everybody.
what
Hi, Sue. Hi, Delia. Hi,
yeah.
Maria.
Maria Mai. Oh
Oh, yeah, Canada.
dear
Go Canada.
beloved sisters and brothers, how wonderful, how happy I am for Canadians. Canada is now a kingdom and Jasara has been activated. I don't know
Oh,
about
for Canada. Yeah,
what's
I know.
has it?
You guys are
I mean,
kicking ass up there.
yeah, they are. I don't
Are
know
we
where
next?
the Jasara connection is. I'm not sure, but thanks for the comment. Yeah. So we've got Valerie Elster in the house. We've gotten together a few
My
times.
name is misspelled. I don't care. But
Oh, is it? Did I misspell it?
yeah, at the top, Valerie D. Hey, I'll morph into something else, Todd.
I thought you were Valerie D.
Yeah, it
Huh?
says Valerie D. Elsner.
Yeah. What's it supposed to say?
I love it.
What? What's it supposed to say?
Valerie A. Elster.
Oh shit! Are you kidding
It's
me?
okay. Hi,
I'll
Julie.
go.
Hi,
I'll.
Marlon.
I see. I relied on my memory, and of course it didn't.
It's
It didn't.
okay. Like I said, it feels like it's been a long time. I don't know the last time we spoke.
Uh, I
Much
can't
has
remember
happened.
either. I just know that, well, the good thing about when I don't, I do share posts in the Soulogy, so I go through the news feeds and, once you start going through the news feed and you
Right?
can kind of tailor it to what you want, so it doesn't take me long, but I do pick up on people's stuff and your stuff. Yeah, you have that, like some of the women out there, you have that,
Hey, Terry. Hey,
connection to
William.
like what's happening like in the present moment kind of thing, right? Like
Yes.
but anyway, tell us the story. You were going to tell us the story about the multidimensionality. What were
Yes.
we talking
Anyway,
about?
hi,
Sleeping?
everybody. Thanks, Todd, for having me.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah, no
funny
problem.
story is 2 a.m. I think I woke up and then I went back to sleep. Hey, Allison. And then you and I, we were in another realm. And
This is last night.
yeah,
Oh, okay, cool.
yeah. So we were at some like a trade show or something.
Mm.
And you showed up. And I was like, oh, great. We're going to do the interview now. And so we are, we did the interview live. And what's interesting is they made you put on like one of those clear plastic shields because we were inside. And you were like, I'm not doing this. I'm not wearing this. And so I said, okay, well, let's find a spot outside because I'm with you.
Mm.
But like we were ready to do the interview. And I thought that was so interesting. So we were somewhere else at a show, some kind of trade show,
Mm.
getting ready to do the interview. Yeah, I saw you in person and we were gonna
Wow.
meet in person.
Well,
So
there's been a lot of crossover with people's dream state. I mean,
yes,
I think it's always been there, but to me,
Robbie.
it's really become more frequent.
It's everyone.
Yeah,
I
and
so many.
yeah, I went to bed last night going, okay, I want to remember because I've had a pretty good recall on lucid dreams,
Yeah.
and I was like, I want to remember. I went into the Akashic first. I was like, okay, I want to go
Mhm.
in here, and I was in that space, and then I was like, what do you want? And I was like, okay, and it just all went to nothing. Like a big eraser came across the board, and it was like, I just want the highest and best good for all of the earth.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I know, I was like, okay, I want to remember the lucid dreams tonight. And so there was, for me, there was a lot of, like interaction with people that I was familiar with.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I don't know if it was like, what did you say it was? Like a
We were
festival
at
or
some kind of trade show.
trade show. Yeah.
Yeah, it was indoors, and
Yeah.
I can't remember like where, but yeah, it was so specific. Like you've never been in my dream. It
I
was so
wonder,
vivid.
I wonder if that's going to be part of what happens. Maybe you can speak to this. Like we're going to have, because I remember like years ago, like I don't even know, like 4 or 5 years ago, I remember having this download or something where we like I don't know, I was being shown like some stuff about the earth, and it was showing me that like on most planets, like we share information constantly. Like
Yeah.
it's always like if you have a revelation, then everyone in the world has the same revelation, right? And so it's like a whole different kind of deal, and that we kind of do that in dream state. But I don't know. I wonder if we're going to recall our connections in dream state in our
Yeah.
conscious awakening. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because, the metaverse, we're already in the metaverse. I mean, I get what they're doing because that's the next step. But for most of us, we already have been
No.
in this, multidimensional space and time. We've been weaving together for years.
Mm.
So I think that's for people who, I would say, more of the collective, who maybe don't connect like we do, but we're always weaving with each other. Many of us have been on the same stream technically for like 10 years, since 2012.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of us are ready to move into the next iteration of why we're here. I
Right.
love that you said earlier about no one share everything. We're at that point where it's not about, oh,
I
this,
did.
I know this. We're sharing everything that we know. And that's, I mean, I've been on
Oh,
Facebook.
you're talking about this meme I just put up. I was like, when did I say that?
Oh,
Yeah, it was just like, I don't even know why it popped in my head. I haven't really been doing a lot of memes, and it was like, okay,
there's a
everything's
diamond on my
share.
forehead. Yes.
Yeah, like everything's shareable. I don't need credit for anything, and don't take anything for granted. I don't know. It was something like that. I don't know if I got it right when I wrote it down, but like, there's like something about that my friend in Sedona, Ty Hudnall, he says, when it's a download when it's instantly
Yeah.
instantly shareable.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I I kind of read the cosmic, framework because I work a lot in that multidimensional space. So it's about how can we help each other? Because it is about the collective space,
Hmm.
and all of us, how are we going to move forward together? I feel like we're going back into the physical connections
Yeah.
and the meetings, which is maybe why you and I met in the real, because we're supposed to do that. It's like time for that.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
group, the soul family, especially, to meet in person, right? Hey, Athena.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about that last night. That's weird that you bring it up. It's not, I guess, but I
Yeah,
was thinking about all the
right.
people that I've met, in person, and it's a lot of
Yeah,
people. Even like with Soulogy Fest. But I mean, like even just traveling around. I mean, meeting people that
yeah,
you met online and meeting them in person, and sometimes it's just it's not like the context of the conversation. It's just the fact that the two soul coordinates or two or more coordinates come together, and there's just something that happens. I don't know.
yes, yeah. I'm
There's some,
feeling the urge, the
yeah,
sense of it's time for that again.
yeah,
And I haven't really been out that much. I never was the festival person. I didn't really travel. I mean, I did grid work traveling, to Hawaii,
hmm,
to I did some stuff in Egypt, but I'm feeling the connection. We've had the time and space to go through all of these different aspects, and so we're ready. Like, I'm ready. I want to see everybody. I want to hug everybody. I want
Yeah.
to have you and Morgan and everybody
Yeah.
else.
Hey, I want to ask you because I know you're with the type of you kind of have like a finger on the pulse type of thing, like a lot of
Yeah.
women, or a significant number of women out there that tend to have that role. You know, it's kind of an anchoring role. It's kind of a this is what's going on. You know, like almost like a heads up. But
Uh-huh.
um, so Dolores Cannon, Edgar Casey,
Yes.
and then last year other people such as Franco, rest in power, a couple of other people, but they talked about there's been the talk about from those first two I said, and then of course later contemporaries talking about how somewhere between what 60 and 70% of the soul of the humans, so to speak, on the planet at that time or up to that time, I think November of last year was when evidently that all changed. That's where I'm going with it. That they were, what do they call them? Like stand-ins or extras.
Mm-hmm.
That they were kind of like coming from one collective soul that was kind of following the tide of the others that were that were embodied in soul. But anyway, that by November there was like I don't even know what the number was, like 3/4 or 80% of the earth would have basically, I guess you could say, walk-ins where they were
Mm-hmm.
all independent souls, that 80% or whatever. And I just look at it from an energetic standpoint. There seemed to be kind of a ascending trajectory in terms of obviously since of conscious awareness since 2012. Some people earlier, obviously, but anyway, I mean, and then given all the stuff that's happening in the first few weeks of this year, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like that there's more people, I guess, waking up rapidly? Is there because that seems like a huge influx to go from 35% individual souls to
Yeah.
80. That just seems like a huge influx that we would feel. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes. And I talked about the different types of walk-ins in the past. And so I have felt that recently. Um, People, what was coming up was soul braids. A lot of people, soul braids is when, they're aspects of your soul
Right.
that are activated. And so I feel like what you're speaking of is these activations of the different aspects, the higher dimensional aspects, and they come in and literally weave with, right, with the soul here. And so I feel like we're going through that phase now, and some will choose to leave. I just had a beloved soul brother leave the planet a few weeks ago,
Mm.
totally unexpected. But I feel that we're moving from either you're going to get that aspect woven in, or you might move on to essentially hold this new earth timeline. A
Mm.
lot of us that have worked on the timeline might be exiting. I don't think I am, but I did ask the question, am I going to move on? So I feel like we're in, yes, Raymond Powell, thank you. He was a huge soul and a big, proponent, especially in the crypto digital currency.
Mm.
So we're, and I've talked to him when he about what he's doing, and he is holding space. He's holding the new earth portal, basically.
You've
Uh,
connected with him since he transitioned.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And many of us have. He's been very active. I went out to the land actually where he passed and did ceremony,
Wow.
and a group. Do you remember the portal to the new earth? It was a gathering in 2018. He was there. A number of others were there, and that's where he said he was. He said, I'm up the portal to the new earth." So
Wow.
it's like he's opening that
Mm.
space for what is coming through. We've been moving toward, of course, the new earth. So many of us have been working on these pieces. We all hold the piece. So it's really about what you've chosen as a soul. What's next for you as an individual, and what's next for us as a collective. We are definitely in a very high time of where is the collective going, how is the collective moving. we're seeing, of course, someone mentioned Canada. We're seeing now that the collective is stepping up. The collective is saying, no more. We're not going to be, controlled. And so that's been the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Is what are we willing to say yes to? What are we willing to put up with? Because what's happened and what's happening, it's not part of the new earth. It's not part of the structure of this next paradigm that we've been holding space for. So yes, dragon.
It looks like that, to me, it looks like everything that's being put out there through the power of suggestion or whatever, the pattern that's been utilized over the last, whatever, thousands of years, it's not sticking anymore. It's like a false flag frequency that's not sticking anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, my mantra right now is, the soul thinks quick on its feet, but stay on your toes. So I
Yeah.
look at like the Canada thing and the Australia thing and even the UK thing, and I think, because like I looked this morning on some of the mainstream media, a couple of mainstream media sites, that I just looked to see what they're trying to suggest. And I noticed that in America, they were saying basically that the COVID restrictions looks like they're going to be pulled back. And so I'm going, okay, there's always been this controlled opposition kind of thing going on. I don't want to get too excited if everything drops. Not that I want to be like, suspicious or paranoid, but I just want to stay open to everything, specifically to the pattern or method that has been utilized in this great divine orchestration that we all had a part of. And just be aware that, hey, just because looks like there's two sides, doesn't mean that either one of them is the end all cure all kind of thing.
Well, that's a great point, Todd, but that's classic duality, right?
Yeah, true.
One or the other, one or the other. I mean, we're here to transcend a lot of that duality. I mean, the biggest piece has been this masculine feminine, this weaving of the two, right, energetics in this alchemy. And I really feel like people were talking about it earlier, that masculine aspect, that divine masculine is stepping up. That's what we're seeing. That for me, when I saw Canada, I said, okay, it's the masculine. They're saying no more. This does not resonate, with how we really feel. So I think we're at such a powerful place right now with that. We needed both sides to come into balance, right? Of course, within our masculine, feminine, but to have that reflected in, what everyone's doing in a day-to-day basis. Of course, it's going to start at that level with the people that are on the streets. That's where it's going to begin. Right? The ones that are there transporting our items, growing the food.
I wanted to ask you about that, because I know that through your writings, when I catch you, you actually you actually aren't like pigeonholed into that topic, but because you talk about different things or translate different things. But one of the things that you've always been consistent about is the masculine and feminine. And I'm just curious. It's one of the things I wanted to ask you. There's an obvious short history. At least I feel like I kind of landed in 2012, like most of the people. Some obviously much earlier, but like there was a mass. And I remember in 2015 there was a whole flurry of posts from women that was like the divine feminine has landed, right? And then there started this whole process of their expansion, kind of, or that energetic expansion kind of leading the way of the masculine. First it was like, hey, where are you? Hurry up. And then it seems like there's been some back and forth. I mean, how do you see that? Is it a dance? Is the feminine? I mean, the feminine clearly seems to be leading the way, the feminine energy, and I think a lot could be said in terms of the masculine that's showing up, like such as you're talking about, is actually their feminine coming to the surface, and as room's been made, as the distorted masculine's fallen. I don't know, but anyway, so I think you kind of get what I'm saying. Where do we stand in the weather report of the energy of masculine and feminine?
Well, and those are great points. And I had that divine feminine awakening in 2012. That's kind of how it started, right? For me, it was like, whoa, because the feminine, typically has been more in tune with the emotional, right? The feeling, the root chakra, the birthing. And so I think, we kind of were woken up, and many of us were more connected to our intuition, and we had that feeling, as I did in 2012, like, oh, something's coming, because there was a rebalance, and that's what 2012 brought about. We're going to have to rebalance the energy. For me, it feels very balanced. I feel like, because both sides had to do their wounding. I had this awakening, and then all of a sudden I had everything that came with it, which was revenge. That was one of my big things, like the masculine, right? I'm looking outside of myself, because there had been such a long period of time where the feminine energy, which of course is more in a feminine body, was subdued, was controlled, right? And I think that's a big point of, oh, we love this energy, we love this creation, but we don't like what's going to come with it. We don't want to be told what to do. So let's just take the energy and subdue the physical body. And so these are templates, Todd. A lot of what we work off of are templates. And what we had been working off of was, I would say, not divine templates. They were altered somehow.
Yeah.
They were based in um, you know, aspects that weren't who we really were. So as far as the balance, it's coming back into that divinity, the divine masculine, divine feminine, as a group, as a totality of this divine marriage, which also Eros Gamos
Right.
is something that we talk about. So I feel that we're at a really beautiful place, because both sides have had to look at the wounding on both ends, wounding of feminine, wounding of the masculine, and within what each of us was carrying. Some of us have opened up so many different aspects. And so all of those aspects had some piece of wounding, right? And so we had to go into those. And a lot of us came from Atlantis and Lemuria and Egypt and some of the major um, timelines that have had most of the wounded aspects. And so to take all of that and have to really physically live it. It wasn't just about updating the codes. I was at Giza in 2017 working on time codes. But, I can do that all day, but if it's not physicalized, if it's not grounded and integrated
Right.
into our day-to-day experience, I had to come down to say, okay, how does this make sense? People ask me, that's great, Valerie, you're doing all this translation, but what does it mean to me? And what does it mean to us as a group? And so I think the past 2 years is where we've seen, how is this going to play out? How do we want to live amongst each other? So it feels really good today. The masculine feels balanced. I feel like they've worked on that feminine or the mother wound, because that's a big part. And that's where we each get our original, understandings of masculine or feminine from our parents, directly from our parents. Those are the relationships. So a lot of that has been in our individual family unit and also collective family unit, our ancestral. And so a lot of the ancestral healing has been happening, is still happening. But at least the blueprints and the templates feel very clear and clean. So now we can operate off these new healed aspects. And that's really beautiful. So that's how I feel today at 12:22. Yay!
and it's 24 minutes and 24 seconds into the broadcast the minute you said that. Can't make this stuff up. So God, I forgot what I was going to ask you. You were talking. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you.
Yes,
Well,
Robbie.
and I understand that any type of projection or prediction or whatever you want to call it is subject to change from the moment after it's been put out there. But if I look at some of the intel of people, just doing this show, and just, kind of being in tune over the last 2 years. Just as an example, like if I go back to Franco, he talked about how the trajectory, and this would have been, like the end of last year,
Mhm.
was that by the end of 2023, and again, I'm kind of bringing this up from an energetic or metaphoric standpoint, not so much
Mhm.
getting caught up in the literal, but that we would be on a planet where basically local councils of people like you would be running the place.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's, from an energetic standpoint or otherwise, is something that we're on track for?
Yes, I do.
Hmm. Wow,
Yes.
that's good. That's good. I feel
Yeah.
the same. I feel the same way. Do you feel that there are parallels with that trajectory that would include our psychic abilities, higher sensitivities, abilities to do things we can do in dimension and in dream state?
Yes.
Very
I
cool.
mean, what's happening is we're relearning how to create our own universe in a sense,
Yeah.
right? And I keep going back to what's happening in the metaverse because that is a physical representation of, again, what most of us have been doing. Um, oh, they're saying there's a reverberation. I
It's
don't
on
know.
your end. It's on your end because of the. Now, do you have a earbuds?
I do have a headphone, so yeah,
Yeah. If you plug those in, the reverb will stop.
I'm wearing them.
Oh, you're
They're
wearing
in.
them.
Yeah.
Okay. I
So
don't know. Is it?
I,
I don't think it's. Is it bad enough that it's creating a problem for people? Let's see.
yeah,
Thank
I
you.
know somebody mentioned someone's talking.
Yeah, it's my voice echoing. Uh, so it's okay. We're good. I think we're fine.
um,
It's not major complaints. And you're going to do most of the talking anyway. Go ahead.
well, I was going to comment. Oh, someone's saying it's on your side, Todd.
Well, yeah, it's coming from my voice, but it's on
Oh, okay.
it's on your end.
Okay, good. Thank you. So, yeah, Robbie had mentioned something about the masculine, about holding the sacred space, and I think that's important because both sides have said, oh, we've been abused, and there's trauma on both sides, and there's been
Mm.
trauma on the feminine, trauma on the masculine. And so I think it was such a big push initially for the feminine, and a lot of remembrance. I had the remembrance of that abuse and relationships and timelines. And so I talk about timelines a lot because what you're saying is, what timeline are we going to load in, and there's talk, oh, we've got a new timeline coming in. It just means we have a new set of information. We have a new set of potential realities. What are we going to do as a collective? How are we going to live? What does it look like? And so, the multidimensional aspects really come into play once you understand, like, I'm not just this body, I'm
Hmm.
here in this avatar called Valerie, but I inhabit many different timelines and sometimes simultaneously, right? And one of the things that comes up a lot is we're grounding heaven on earth. This is the Eden planet. Earth is a really important piece, and a lot of us have agreed to come back to assist in her ascension. I mean, not necessarily like she's going to move the way she's going to move, but we're all here to assist this species, to come back into their heart. I mean, that's like the simplest way, because that's really all that matters.
True.
If collectively we can do that, then that's it. We can
Yeah,
just enjoy.
and like even in respect to that, and in respect to what you were talking about with the the let's just say, the closer and closer we get to equilibrium with the masculine and the feminine individually, and then how that builds the collective. Um, this stuff that's happening, I like what you said about, we have more information, more code, like every
Yes.
day, every night when we go to sleep, and we pick up more and more and more from the beehive intelligence. And
Yes.
but one of the differences I've noticed that's becoming more and more apparent is how rapidly we affect our creative experience. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't move, it doesn't operate by the math it used to. It's literally, you know, it used to be 1 + 1 = 2, and now it's like the 369 Tesla thing, right? It's like things can happen very quickly and change instantly.
Yes. Yeah, that's the timeline. That's the thing. There's it's not about time, you know, in the
Mm.
way that we see it. It's not linear. It's the timeline. So once everything is ready and frequency wise, we emit the frequency, right? Then everything drops into place.
Yeah.
That's why literally you look outside and it looks different. I've
Yeah.
even noticed, have you noticed on Facebook, Todd? Some people look completely different. I go to their profile and I'm like, that's not the person that I
Right.
remember.
I would say yes to to that. I don't know if it's always online. Well, I do these shows and I'll see people because they, you know, like you, they'll come back from time to time and they just look totally different. They, you know, without sounding condescending, because I mean, I'm transforming just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people see it in me because they send me messages telling me, oh my God, you've come a long way in 5 or 6 years or whatever. But yeah, there's something to that. Almost like a, if I'm picking up what you're saying and and I'm relating to it from my own experience, it's almost like a Mandela effect, right?
Exactly. There is a little bit of that, and that's a timeline situation. So, right? And that's when there's subtleties.
Mm,
And I feel like, you know, I'll look at people and it's right after a timeline shift where there'll be there's a subtle difference because you know it can't happen all at once. You know, everybody's like, well, when's it going to happen? It's like it's been happening. We're in it. Look at our world. Look what's happened in
yeah,
the last 2 years. Everything's
yeah,
been unhooked so we can look at it as a group and say again, is this serve us? Is this where we want to be? Is this a heart based, you know, or is this coming from some wounded first chakra situation?
yeah,
That's what we've been moving out of. But that takes, you know, it takes a bit because we want, of course, as many people as possible to hold those higher frequencies.
yeah.
And it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah, I think that's something that we don't always remember. I can speak for myself, and I think some people could relate to this. But like, I think, you know, if I go back to my own situation, just as an example, you know, May 30th, 2011, Jesus comes in the trees, and then everything starts happening, right? You know, a lot of
Yeah.
us had very intense divine episodes, divine intervention. You have
Yeah.
all these guides, and then, you know, hey, where are they? And then there's just these step after step after step. But I think, you know, for me, sometimes I forget and I go, dude, all that stuff happened to you and still happens, and you meet Morgan,
Yeah.
then you're both having these things happen. And I think we forget what we did to get us where we're at. And then if you extrapolate that to the world, to your point, like there's
Yeah.
a regardless of everything that's been thrown at us, so to speak, there's been a hell of a lot of transformation and awakening frequencies. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. I mean, it was crazy. 2012, right? 13. We were all going through specific phases and we had to have that. I mean, I was literally hit with a 2x4. I had to move out of my marriage, you know. So much stuff happened because there was that greater awakening of, oh, I have other work to do, you know, not just going to, you know, hang out and do this. I have this to do. Like, oh, so I feel that, and we've had time to integrate, right? We
Hmm.
needed time to integrate. There was so much that happened. And so it took a while just to figure it out. And then now it's time to actually integrate. So the last 2 years have been major integration of these templates, of this, the new earth, whatever you want to call it. You know, templates are just higher frequency. Um, you know, if you lay them down over the planet and that's what we've done. We've created these crystalline grids of such a high frequency. So of course we're gonna pull from them when we need to, and they're available. Everything is already available to us. They're
Yes.
saying it's all been downloaded.
Yes.
It's all available, right?
Yeah.
just getting that next iteration, because we are on a DNA level completely being restructured. And that's why it's been so physical this last year. It's been
Yeah.
all, especially the last 3 months, physical, because physically we're being completely restructured. Our DNA is completely being updated.
Yeah, that's how yesterday was. Which,
Yeah.
to your point, like for me anyway, like I knew something was happening. I think it actually started the night before, and
Yeah.
but I did 2 or 3 shows yesterday, and then I was flat on my back the entire day. And
Yeah.
I turned on a movie at one point, which is hard because I can't normally find anything that I can. I'll just turn the TV off and just sit there and look at the ceiling. But I was very aware of my body. I was very,
Mm-hmm.
very cognizant of my body, yet I wasn't like trying to find the emotion or trying to find the incident or trying to figure anything out. I was just like, okay, I'm just going to sit here, and do nothing. And then like last night, because I think Morgan kind of had the same kind of day. Probably a lot of people did. And so I talked to her. So it was like 2 a.m. for me and like early evening for her. And I'm like, talked to her for a minute. I was like, I'd really love to talk to you, but I can't. I'm
Nothing.
gonna have some tea and go lay down and just try to go to sleep or connect or whatever. But yeah, it was just like
Yeah.
there was something that was extracted. And then to your point, just to kind of sum it up, yesterday was a really good example of something that I felt, and to your point earlier too, of these last couple of years, certainly the last 3 months. I
Yeah.
was very aware that there was some stuff going on in my body. Now, my overall body, I did not want to get up off the couch because anything I would attempt to do was too much. Like even if
Yeah.
I wanted to go
Rad, right?
cook something, I'm just like, no, 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 I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But the individual cells in my body, if I could have a, kind of a weak explanation, it felt like they were just all jumping out of me. Like they were all
Yeah.
dancing, like they were all moving. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. I mean, the intensity of the solar, I mean, it's 85 degrees today. I mean, I'm in California, but that's unusual for us. It's
Yeah,
February
this
10th.
time of year, that is
Yeah, we
unusual.
don't,
Are
not,
you
it's
in
summer.
You're in Southern California?
Yeah, I'm in
Yeah.
Redondo. Yeah,
Okay.
this is unusual weather for us. I mean, we're warm, but not this time of year.
Yeah.
But the intensity of the sun, I mean, it's, that's where we get the codes. I mean, that's a lot of where we receive these DNA upgrades, which is why all of your cells are moving, because they're literally being upgraded.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're vibrating. So the same, I just listen to my body, and I've really been guided to stay put. I was supposed to be in Maui last week, and I just got, nope, do not go. You
Right.
know, you stay put, right? Because we're also holding, I've said this before, we're individual ley lines. We are the ley lines because of what our bodies and what our
Mm.
code structure is vibrating. So that's why people feel like, oh, I have to stay put. I have to
Yeah.
travel. I have to move, because we're holding all of that frequency within us. And especially if you've activated all your multidimensional aspects, you're going to hold a much bigger field. And so, literally will be moved or will be said, stay put. So listening to that body, listening to that is so important.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a big deal.
Huge deal.
People positioned
Yes,
around the
advanced
grid,
intelligence,
or
right
yeah,
now.
around the new grid or around the earth.
Yeah,
Uh, there's like this higher self override, and the humans, can go, what the hell? Like for me, I've been getting cabin fever, and I love where I'm at. It's a beautiful place. I got a beautiful portal in the back forest, and it's all good. But there's the human side of me is going, man, I want to get out. I want to get out, and then
yeah,
I'm just like, okay, wait a minute, just take a deep breath. You'll know what to do, when to do it,
yeah,
and you just kind of accept it, surrender to it. But yeah, I think you're right. I think we totally underestimate.
yeah.
That's another thing that we might underestimate is our positioning, our global positioning,
Level
and
positioning. Yeah, we're satellites. We
yeah,
are literally,
yeah,
right. And so we're going to get moved soon. Though I can see the traveling, because a lot of us, if we're all together, think about that frequency. You've done some live shows in
hmm
person.
hmm
The frequency of the group, because we create such a vibrational, cymatic. I love that word, because
mm,
we create a completely different bandwidth, literally, with our individual frequencies. just look at the things that have happened just from an online standpoint of
Yeah.
the movement, it just not even being in physical presence with everyone.
Yeah.
And that's probably been the biggest thing I hear is how, people have been so separated. But there's a physical reason for it, but it'll be so quick. And I'm preparing for gatherings. I can feel it happening.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I'm
you're right
getting
about
ready.
that. I mean, that happened at Soulogy Fest on the third day, about
Yeah, right?
11 o'clock, right around 11:11, I think, or I don't know what time it was actually, but I know it was like 11 or 12. And it was just like the culmination of the previous days. And Pamela Johnson got up and started speaking. I said, "Hey, anybody want to come up and just, give a testimony, whatever."
Yeah.
She came up and spoke. I went outside the tent. I could hear her. And I don't know, something happening. I was talking to a couple of sisters. We had a moment, and all of a sudden you see 6 Black Hawk helicopters come from around the butte, the mesa,
Uh-huh.
and they just come around in perfect line right over the tent. And
Yes,
and, and there's no mistakes. So I think that's what you're talking about, right?
exactly. I've had that happen too in New Mexico when I've been for council meetings, is the helicopters, because the frequency is so high, right? You probably had some galactic family, there, right? So again, it's all frequency, and whatever you're able to attune to, that's it. And so we're
Hmm.
attuning to these higher frameworks, and as a collective, we're now attuning because the frequency has allowed the rising, I guess. I'm seeing the coming up from even the inner earth, it's coming up from the ground. You can't ignore it. If you're standing on the earth, you cannot ignore what's happening. And that's why we're having what we're having. This, okay, enough is enough. This is our planet, we're taking it back.
It's
um
truly an epic time
it
to be here.
is.
It
It
truly is.
is. Yeah. It's
I mean,
exciting.
if the higher self, oversoul says, you got to go. I mean,
Yeah,
I accept everything, but I want to see this thing through, and I want to see the after party as well. I don't want to just,
exactly.
you know, I don't want to just be a part. I mean, if I had my druthers, I mean, I would prefer to hang out for that 1,000 years of peace or whatever that is,
Yeah,
referring to metaphorically.
exactly. I mean, it's, Sita saying, attuning our soul sings to the sing of the universe, song of the universe. And
Mm,
and I've heard that galactic symphony, we're singing, we're vibrating to those absolutes, to that sacred geometry. And it's an amazing time because we're seeing what I think a lot of our ancestors, wanted to do. um I was born in the late 60s. My parents came to California, and I was born in the summer of love. And it's like, you know, I came in knowing that I'm here for this. I've always had that in my heart of, I'm here to make the world a better place, which is so cliche. But ultimately, it was my frequency. Ultimately, it was who I was on a soul level, and I was born where I needed to be born to hold the space here in California. So, yeah, the sounds of the spheres. Exactly, Robbie. I mean, something's moving in my house.
mhm.
Um,
There's a lot of
so,
that going on. I've noticed.
well, I have a
I've,
cat. The neighbor kitty
oh, I
shows
got you.
up.
Okay, I
Life
thought you
is
meant
new.
something else. I thought the veil was bleeding through because I've noticed that around my house. So I know you're super sensitive, super connective, and there's been a lot of changes in our interaction or communion, with the universe. So, like I was saying earlier, you have a bunch of guides come in. Some people, they have primary guides. There's a certain level of embodiment, so it can become a voice of fewer voices, so to speak, or one singular voice. So a couple of questions. One, what are your go-tos now? Is it one singular voice, or are there specifics, and who are they? And what are you hearing presently? What are you getting from your communion with the universe?
I mean, it depends. I do work a lot with a dragon
Mm,
council, dragons. They're very much, they hold that space on the physical plane. And so I would say the last few years, so it's a mix. It's dragon,
mm,
where they'll come in and there's different weavings and things happening. And also there is galactic still. There is still galactic council. There's still, um, I would say both of those. So it really depends what's happening. You know, what phase we're at and what my role is. I don't do as much coding, so to speak. Um, you know, just because, like I said, a lot of things have already been done. It's all here.
mm-hmm,
It's just a matter of how it's going to be sequenced into the grid. And so there has been so much, uh, you know, pieces of how is this going to happen? How are we going to actually pull this off in the real, you know, in the physical? And so I would say those are most of my conversations. Those are most of, you know, if there's meetings. So I still get pulled into galactic meetings and into dragon meetings. And it's really to say where are we at, what's happening next, and you know, again, what my role is. And so I feel my role is changing. I feel a lot of us, we're going to be shifting into more mainstream, you know, discussions, into
mm,
more leadership stuff that's come in for a while. I feel like, you know, my what I've been doing the last 10 years, I'm ready for something. I'm ready for the next phase. And
yeah.
so I think that, you know, you might be feeling that, and a lot of people listening might be feeling the same way, because now we have the next generation that's moved up, and now they're doing a lot of what I'm doing. So it's like, okay.
I know. Isn't that wild? Isn't
I know,
that
I love
wild?
it. I mean, I have a 12-year-old, Todd, you know,
I
I've been
mean,
doing mommy mode.
but even like something like light language. If you go to YouTube and you query light
Yeah.
language, you get like, I did this like 3 or 4 months ago. I just wanted to count how many would come up. And there was like 175 or something.
Yeah.
And they were all like, months within a year or within 2 years. I mean, you could just see the influx of that type of
Of
expression.
language.
Yeah.
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 I love that. And I mean, I've been speaking language for probably 10 years.
Hmm.
So when I had that awakening, it opened up all these different pieces, and then I was able to translate. And so it's really used, which is great, as, you know, it's vibration. I say I speak frequency. I speak frequency, and that's it. And it's whatever it's meant to do. It's opened up just certain aspects in people. I do a lot of speaking with dragons and with the galactic, so I use it in a communication between the realms. I've just been doing it for so long, so that's why I do a lot of translation as well.
So I don't think I've ever heard, to my knowledge, dragon light language.
The dragon.
Do you
Okay.
speak dragon light language? Can you tune into?
I can speak dragon. Yeah, I do speak
I
it.
mean, I don't want to do it for trivial purposes. I mean, I
We'll
have
see if
total
it comes through.
respect for the
Yeah,
dragon part,
totally.
but like, is there, because the dragon energy to me is like a creator energy. Like to me, like
Yes,
when I
it's
when I
primordial. It's a
yeah, I kind of sit
primordial.
with that, and it's like the beginning.
Yeah,
Like I can just see like the energies, and how the earth was created.
I'll
So like
speak some.
there,
I'll do
yeah,
it, Todd.
yeah,
I'm open.
cool,
Yeah, I'll
far out.
totally speak. Let's see what wants to come through. There's different dialects, so I can
Mm,
tell sometimes like where it's coming from, but
right
it's
on.
it's a little more guttural, I guess. It's a little bit more primordial versus like galactic has a different frequency. But
Okay,
here,
cool.
let's see what wants to come through. I'm open.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Mm. Estarochi kasamba shal tu akalele nordaila meoto. Samahata kala ta ushdai in narti tai de ki ato ki atsa nortai. La pahuta sa dande shamortai. Samo pohatai E la morta e sa morcia me chame to e tai. De kiamba to handa ke kiamba tai ka tai kal. Sa lahti yam me to eta. Me na hashambarte sa morta ela. E kotama shomorda katsambete. Ti ita hato ka ushandi ya taita.
Well, can you translate that? Or is it, or is
Sometimes
it
I
just,
actually speak like I growl like a dragon, you know. So it's also sometimes the tone.
yeah.
Um,
Well, obviously, yeah, I get that. Like it's the makeup of all the frequencies that actually is
yeah,
the
speaking to the womb, exactly. Thank
yeah.
you, Robbie. Robbie's translating. So it's very womb. It is very creation energy.
Mm,
Not direct translation. You know, sometimes I'll speak and then translate English, but
yeah,
very much a opening, I guess. That was an
yeah,
opening
yeah,
language, and it is more lower chakras, so it is going to be your connection to the physical reality, the ground, the earth. You know, it's very, like I said, guttural because it has that a depth to it.
mm,
Um, Isa kahacheva shorande samboranda. Itakusavushtarande sa utakeeta. So someone's saying it sounds Welsh. And a
mm,
lot of times, like I'll listen to Native American language and
mhm,
I'm like, oh, I say those tones. I speak those original language, original tones. And so it's just, again, tones of creation, I call it.
yeah,
And so a lot of it is creation. We're creating from that place of original language. And everybody knows this. I've said this before. When I work with people, when I mentor for language, I'm not teaching you anything. You know,
right,
I'm helping to remove perhaps the what's blocking the remembrance.
right,
And so I think that's also what's important. We're all remembering, and this has been a 10, 15, 20 year remembrance.
yeah,
It's just that we've been in such an accelerated period. That's what 2012 did. It literally kicked off the acceleration clock because the frequency started to go up and up. And so if it seems like time's going faster, it has been, because
yeah,
that's frequency, because there is no time in the way that we measure it. We're measuring it in these, the timelines, right? The groups of information. So yes, it's root lineage languages. Exactly, Robbie. So whatever wants to come through again in my meetings, in my dialogues, because sometimes I'll speak something I haven't spoken before. I'm just
right,
translating, and I'm an open vessel for that, just like
right.
many of you.
You are, it's what's amazing too, and it's just another testament to the quantum field, like the before
Yeah,
after,
it's so
and
fun.
it's like I've heard so many people like come on the show and they'll be like, yeah, I started doing this light language, and they're telling the
Right.
story of their journey, and they'll be like, and then I ran into so and so's work or so and so's work, and I realized I wasn't crazy. But there's so much hard evidence now, and so I think that's another thing that's accelerating the expansion is people are not like you probably felt, and many people felt when they first
Yeah.
woke up, like I'm the only one. Like, am I crazy? Am I losing my mind? Like, what's going on here?
Oh
But
yeah, we're way beyond that.
yeah,
Everybody.
yeah, no
Someone
doubt.
was asking if when I close my eyes, do I see images? Sometimes. Yeah, it just depends. I see a lot of things, but I'm more of a feeler and a knower than a seer. I don't necessarily see, like a dragon. I have a very uh, different, piece. So I just start hearing
Right,
things.
right.
Um,
You mentioned you mentioned essentially you mentioned the children, and I say children. If you look at, say, Patricia Cota Robles, her narrative or her intel, she talks about how anybody born from 1994 on, it kind
yeah,
of comes in clean, somewhat impervious to maybe what we've gone through, and obviously not going to go through the conditioning we did.
yeah,
But wave after wave, year after year, I'm starting to see it even on the show. In the last week, I had a couple of guests come on talking about their 3-year-old and the other one, the 3 and 4-year-old, and the
yeah,
frequency they're carrying, and kind of like verbal experiences that they have with them. Like, I would just imagine that the impact of these children is going to be sooner than later. Do you have any intel on that?
Yes, I have a crystal child that I birthed. And he told me, I've been working with his guide since he was a baby. So I know exactly who he is on a soul level. Um, they said he's one of the new earth leaders. And at a certain age, like 10 years old, they said, now you're not just mommy, you're mommy and teacher.
Mm.
And so I've been speaking light language to him since he was little. So getting him to remember, so his subconscious is ready. So, oh yeah, these kids are ready to roll. I mean, I have him in public school, which is an interesting experiment, but he definitely holds both sides. His dad is more 3D and I'm holding, the front, but the children are definitely, ready. And I've said this, we're basically paving the way. A lot of us came in early because we had to update the architecture so they could step in and lead. They're not going to lead in this, very old infrastructure that we've been running. It doesn't make any sense to them. And so, it is for them. It is for that next generation.
Yeah.
Because I'm whatever his journey is going to be. And I've told him about it. I said, you're here you're here for Gaia. You're here, to be a new earth leader. And some moms have said, God, that's a lot of pressure. And I'm like, no, I know who he is on a soul level. And so to clear the way, to clear the karmic, I wrote about that today. I felt that karmic piece come back up, where, it just means that whatever we haven't actually moved through on a collective level. And this is the disclosure. We're talking about disclosure, right? Do you see all the UFO stuff starting to come out?
I know, that's pretty.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, they're really telegraphing.
Exactly.
I saw the one yesterday was like, oh, we found this picture from the Apollo mission, and we just discovered there was a UFO in 1969 in this picture. And I'm like, oh, come on.
I know, this triangle craft. Oh, hey.
So that one too. Like with
Yeah,
that one's like, oh, like that's the first time you've seen it, and you got all these triangle crafts like all over the place, and you find one on an aircraft carrier, and what? So let me ask you on that. I mean, without
they know, it's all we already know, and so it's more of it's been us saying, hey, we already know. Right. The construct doesn't make sense to many people.
Well,
and
I think
so it's the
go
kids.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to say it's the kids. They're saying, no, this doesn't work.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you as a mother / teacher.
Yeah.
One of the things I picked up from talking to the parents of these children of all ages is they have.
My computer's going to die, so I'm moving.
Okay.
I'm with you.
Can you hear me? Okay. But what I was going to say is I pick up from them and they talk about it, how one of the stark differences in before and after with these children is these kids know how to say no. And they go, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like they're totally an atypical candidate for public education because they don't fall into that uniformity. Are you experiencing that? Have you seen that?
Yes. And I think that's the whole thing. That's the new earth leader piece, right? Is my son is very outspoken and, he's in this public environment, but really the kids are going to be the ones. They have to say, no, this doesn't work. We want this. Right. And even as example, the high school, in Redondo, this was about masks, but they staged a protest at the school.
Did they really? How old is your kid? How old is your kid?
He's 12.
Okay.
12 and a half.
Okay.
So
but
I can
at the high school, they staged a.
Yeah.
Wow.
They staged a protest at the high school. The kids did it.
Wow.
So they're learning, and again, they have the frequency, they have the benefit of a lot of what we've done. And these are old souls. My son is ancient. He's an old soul. And, I talk to him as much as he wants to listen. he's 12 and a half. So, right, he's going through that phase. But I know on the soul level, he understands. And so it's just a matter of when they're going to step in, right? But as I said, they're waiting for us to lay the foundation. I mean, the system broke down 2 years ago. And so what are we going to pick back up? What pieces are we going to actually pick back up?
Yeah.
That's the question. What are we
Well,
going
and
to pick back up?
and it's interesting too, because these kids seem to carry two frequencies. One is, like you said, innately, consciously or not,
Yeah.
they know who they are. And
Yeah.
two, they're here to be human. Like we had one
Right.
on, we had our friend on the other day, and he was talking about his 3-year-old, and they've been communicating telepathically since the beginning, and now it's starting to be verbal. And
Yeah.
he was telling his dad, the sun's coming down and crushing the spider, and but yeah, but he would tell his dad, and he tells his dad, like when his dad's like, okay, can you give me any information? Or, he's like in the game of the Ascension, and his son will go, hey, chill out, man. I'm here to be a human, and I'm going to have some fun. So don't forget that. But I've
Yeah.
heard that from several parents.
Yeah. Oh, they're ready. And so we can recognize that the children all have different pieces that they're coming with, just like we do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we're able to say, this is what you're going to be doing. This is what you're doing. Like we've called for help. Earth has been calling for help for many years. And so many of us came down with that in mind. But so many of us are here. We know what we're doing. We know why we're doing it.
That's true.
And so now it's just a matter of, again, sequencing in the physical what that's going to be.
Yeah,
Right?
you talked about mainstream, and I spend a lot of time over the years watching different platforms just to pick up the nuances and see what's going on, energy and all that. And I just go, okay, when are we going to be mainstream? When are you going to have
Exactly.
on a high like a platform that has a huge following, like we're talking millions, whatever, where we're going to be having conversations about, for instance, that there's been like, a huge, powerful minority of silent, primarily females for the last 10 or 20 years that have been doing grid work, that have been
Yeah.
anchoring stuff, that have been going to councils. Like, hey, they're not all crazy. Come on. They're
Yeah.
all drinking from the same Kool-Aid here. Did you know this has been going on? And telling the world this,
For a
right?
long time.
Yeah. That would be huge. I would love to see that happen. I would
It's
love to
going to
see it.
happen.
I think
It's
so.
going to happen, Todd.
I think
It'll
so.
happen.
And
Yeah.
I know you're a practitioner, and I know I've asked you this every time you come on. I ask most of them, but you mentioned you use the term, especially the last 3 months. Of course, we're talking about the body and so on, but
Yeah.
everything's parallel. What kind of changes have you seen, like from the end of 2021 as we got into 2022? The people that are coming to see you.
Let's see. It's definitely changed. I mean, people have stepped more into their power.
Mm,
They've stepped more into that multidimensional aspect. So I think just the awareness of, I don't do as many individual sessions. I mean, I
okay.
do some group. As I said, I'm kind of shifting. I can feel that I'm moving into something else, but just the awareness and the openness, because really that's all it takes is
Hmm.
you're open to something else. You're open to a different dimension. You're open to seeing something in a different way. So I think just that openness, I mean, the last couple of years of what's happened is people are open because
Right.
we've had to move into the feeling. We've had to move into, hey, my neighbor is important to me because of what's happening on the planet.
Right.
These are aspects of the awareness. And so I think it's, especially coming through that feminine channel, the feminine energy has been so strong that I think it's so, to ignore it would completely be ignoring who you are on a human level.
Yeah.
So the especially with the masculine, as I said, just even today, I could feel they've done so much work and they're really stepping into that divine role because they've allowed themselves to heal the wounded aspects with the feminine.
Yeah.
And that has been the biggest piece. And so it's not about waiting, right, for anyone. It's just about how can you come into alignment deeper within yourself, because that's
Yeah.
all we can do.
Well,
And the
you
more
kind of
we do
see,
that,
yeah, you kind of see like this, you could call it ego death or
yeah,
letting go kind of thing.
letting go, yeah.
And it kind of jumped out at me yesterday. I was just flipping through YouTube, and there was this video, and it was, the Canadian government has uh, made it unlawful to provide gas to the truckers, right?
I know it's not.
Did you see this? And then there was all these people coming out of a store that looked like Target,
Yeah,
and there was women and men and children, and they were
yeah,
all carrying empty gas cans. So instead
yeah,
of bringing them gas, they were bringing them gas containers, right?
yeah,
And I thought, and I just felt it. I thought, oh wow, there it
yeah.
is. I mean, that's like the innovation of the feminine, the creativity, you know what I mean? This thinking out of the box kind of thing. I sat
Hmm.
there and laughed for like 5 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. One of those moments where you start questioning your sanity, like, okay, am I really seeing this? It's it's
Yes,
it's such it's such a
we're seeing
wild,
it.
yeah, yeah.
I
Have
mean, they
you?
used to do this in the 60s, right? This is sit-ins.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
right? We just didn't have the internet, so it couldn't be broadcast. But look at what technology has allowed us to do. It's
I
allowed us to
know,
connect
I
and
know,
coordinate. I mean, that's the
and
biggest thing for me about, internet and
and
Facebook.
and
It's allowed
everything's
us,
and everything's always upside down. So if you look at the viral aspect of the internet, and you see these,
yeah.
you see these, what just silly videos go millions and millions. But I bet you that there has got to be a viral aspect to those things that aren't, let's just say, widely viral in the human terms, in the linear terms, but like in the etheric, like all
Yeah.
this work
Mhm.
that's been done by so many people. I mean, has to be affecting people.
Yes.
There's been too much of it done, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, if you're standing on the earth, you have to feel it. If you're connecting to what's coming in from the sun, you're going to feel it. I mean, you
Yeah,
can't ignore what's going on. You can't ignore the frequency anymore. We're at that place. And this has been the swell, right? And so we needed something like what happened, in 2020. We needed that. That was the break that we needed. People
yeah,
needed to sit in one spot and not go to work and not
yeah.
move.
There you
We
go.
needed it, right? Because I mean, if we're busy, 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 you're not going to get the information. You're not going to get the codes. When I'm busy, I'm not getting the downloads. But when I'm sitting, when I'm in meditation,
Yeah,
when I'm quiet, I do. So
or
I'll link
just
up,
yeah, or just
right?
out there.
Yeah.
A mutual friend sent me a note last night, right when I was laying down to go to bed, and she said, "Hey, where can I catch the show with Valerie tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Oh, I just copied and pasted the note that goes underneath the where it showed you could watch it." And then and I think she said, uh, like, how how was today? And I was like, "Oh my God, I was flat on my back other than the shows I did." And then she said, "Man, my whole body's like vibrating," or whatever she said. But she said, even though I felt that way, I don't know how far she lives from the beach, but she goes, I drove to the beach. And then she sent me a picture of the sun, which had all these rainbows and purples and
Yeah.
almost like off planet colors. But
Yeah.
man, there has been some amazing pictures of the sun over the last 90 days. They've just been like
Yeah.
mind blowing.
I'll put a few up. Oh yeah, where you can see the codes coming through. That's why I said it's 85 here. The sun is so strong. I mean, it's you can just feel it. And in a way, we're returning to that solar society. I
Hmm.
mean, that is part of it because that's where we receive so much information.
Hmm.
And not wearing sunglasses and just being out and looking at the sun. So it is a return. And again, people not being in buildings working and being out
Right.
at the
Right.
beach, they're going to receive that information. So this has been the biggest collective awakening period the last 2 years. This is it. It's what we've all talked about for a long time.
Yeah.
When's everyone going to wake up?
It's kind of like we've come this far. Why stop now?
Exactly.
So, I noticed too that, we were talking about letting go, and I've picked up on a few things, and it's not just me, it's just because of what I do. It's not me,
Yeah.
but like people that have been kind of, I guess you would call them way showers, people like yourself, a lot of them, not even wanting the spotlight, these are just a huge conglomerate that we're talking about. But like this, like some type of transition where they're letting go of kind of what got them to the party or got them this far,
Mm-hmm.
and either developing other modalities or processes or ways and means, or modifying what they have. Like I don't know, it just seems like that maybe that's kind of been happening. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? Have you had to give up anything?
Um, like I said, I feel that I'm surrendering what I've been doing
Hmm.
to work on. I mean, I downloaded technology in 2012, 13, and processes that weren't ready. They weren't ready to come into fruition. So I'm ready. I'm ready to work on those. I'm ready to be more in the community. Um,
Hmm.
I feel again, our frequency, we're going to step into, and just our frequency alone. We don't need to do anything or say anything. So I think again, most of it's already come through, and we've been embodying it. The more we
Right.
embodied it, you're just, we're being sent out into the mainstream.
Right.
So even a friend of mine who was a practitioner, she's back in a mainstream job, and she's like, I don't know why I'm here, Valerie, but I'm being guided to be here in this
Wow.
mainstream company. And I said, it's your frequency. You're holding a frequency, right?
Wow. That's powerful. And
Yeah.
maybe the letting go is of letting go of how we think it has to be done
Yes, identity,
versus, yeah,
exactly.
yeah. 111. We didn't on 1 hour and 11
Yay.
minutes on that note.
See,
Um,
the
I was gonna
makita
I
niya
was gonna
tayo.
I was gonna
That's
ask
more
you
mother
something
stuff.
else. Oh, I know what I was gonna ask you. So you have, the 2017, I remember people talking about any
Yeah.
days that we have that are made up of twos and ones, right? Um, that they're going to be PowerPoints and, like places to just kind of keep your head up and see them coming. So obviously October, November, December, January and February are months that carry ones and twos. So you're going to have these power days, which are, like the first and the second, 10, 11, 12, 20, 21, 22. But now we're kind of at the end of that, right? And there's been a lot of talk about 22 of February in 2022.
Hmm.
Uh, and I don't know if you have any, because to me, I just feel like something bigger than usual is going to come to the surface one way or the other, uh, be it conscious or not,
Yeah.
by 20 by the 22nd of this month. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have any information on what that what that's
Well,
bringing?
Todd, I was just writing something for 222.
Mm.
What's coming in for me is this royal marriage. I guess you could say it's the Eros Gamos.
Oh yeah.
And Ancient Mu and the Diamond Codex. And so it does feel like we're going to get a blast for the high heart from
Mm.
Mu, which is Lemuria. And yes, it sounds Hawaiian. I do a lot of work in the Lemurian grid. I live in California, so a lot of it's been about reweaving that template. Um, I'm seeing a lot of unity come in. And so this feels more like the rainbow dragon piece. And there is a merging within. Um, So, I mean, these are kind of aspects that come through in my, and what wants to come through me. I do feel like we're in a gateway. And so I know I saw that 22 to 222. Um, everything's a possibility. All these frequencies come through, but what actually gets grounded and integrated, they're possibilities. That's the timeline. Again, what timeline are we going to hold? What timeline? So yeah, Robbie's saying the same, clearing trauma from the root race, the Lemurian root races.
Mm.
And so that's exactly what I'm getting, same information. Um, so again, what do we want to hold as a group? A lot of us have just been quote waiting, not because we've already been in this space, and we've already had to look at a lot of these different aspects that humanity is having to look at right now. The shadow, right? The humanity, the shadow piece for the collective has been coming up. And those of us that have been weaving through the ancient grids, we already know what it is. So to hold the frequency, to hold the field, I call it. A lot of us are just holding the field. There's nothing to do, and there's nothing to say, even.
Right.
Right? It's the surrendering the idea that we have to do something or say something, because our beingness is what's most important. What
Yeah.
field we are holding, the beingness is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That resonates because
Yeah.
I've had this conscious or more conscious relationship with self-judgment and forgiveness since about July of last year. And it's gotten easier now. Well, I mean, it wasn't a bad thing. It was just more like I discovered something.
Yeah.
And you know how, because you're like, oh, I got to go do this and I got to do that. And if I don't do this, I'm not good, or I'm like, so what you're basically saying is if you find yourself laying on your back or getting pulled down into dream state during the day, it's okay, because
Yeah, it's okay.
it's your beingness, like you said, that is
That's
the
it.
most important thing. Yeah.
And just, yeah,
Go
like,
ahead.
I think that's a big piece. Oh, I think that's
Yeah.
my friend.
Okay.
Ben, are you here? Oh, hi, honey. Okay, you're
Okay.
coming you up.
We'll
It's
close.
okay. We're gonna go to lunch. That's
Yeah, we'll close it up.
digital.
Hey, let me ask you one other question. If I can remember what it was. What were we just talking about? Beingness. No, I don't remember. I
Beingness
forgot.
and not feel like you have to do anything.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I forgot what I was going to say.
We're not doing. Doing is a 3D piece. Doing is busy, busy, busy. That's what doing is. And so the being is the higher frequency, and the knowing that you just know.
Yeah.
Right.
Right on. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, Todd. So good to talk to you. Thank you, everybody.
I look forward to seeing you again in 2022.
Yeah,
And
that'd be
so,
great. In person. I already dreamed it. It already happened, Todd. Now we have to just
there's going to be a lot of coming together.
I look forward to it. I
from
really
here
do.
forward. Yeah.
I want to hug everybody. Thank you, everybody. Much love.
You take care.
Okay,
And,
you too, Todd.
We'll be
Aloha.
back. We'll be back in I think 30 minutes. I'm pretty sure with the next one.